maybe there was a little bit of fine print that said African time. But thank you so much for your patience and joining us here this morning. We, of course, are going to look a little bit back at the 2023 season and what we saw on the field of play. Mamelodi Sundowns once again being victorious in the Hollywood Bets Super League, finishing with 81 points, 6 points ahead of UWC. We did get an opportunity to see a little bit of a chase, and we saw the defending champions getting a little bit of a threat. But ultimately, TX Galaxy Queens were the party poopers for UWC when they thrashed them by the 2-0 victory. And of course, Richmond United also not doing the university students any favors. Ladies and gentlemen, to officially get us started here today, let's remind you of the 16 teams that will be competing this year for the 2024 Hollywood Bets Super League season. We do know that 2 teams faced a drop at the end of last season. That was Coal City Wizards as well as My Indies, with the University of Fort Hare as well as Abantwana Base Tegwini Egagasini. Lindelani ladies finally getting an opportunity to play at the highest level of women's football in the country. Here are the 16 teams that will be competing for the title. And there they are. And if you actually go and you look at what the log is looking like at the moment, prior to the commencement, of course, of the current season, and I don't know if this would ever happen, but if you just open this, City Lads is right at the top. Of course, this is alphabetically. But after 30 games this season for each team, we will see which team will finish on top and whether or not there will be a true challenge for Mamelodi Sundowns ladies who've been so dominant ever since Hollywood Bets took over as the lead sponsor of the Women's League. And once again, thank you so much for being here this morning, because we continuously strive to close the visibility gap when it comes to women's sport, and football is what we're about here today. I'd like to now call on a man from Hollywood Bets, the organization that has decided to put their money where their mouth is and back women's football in this country. Please welcome on stage. He's not my brother, he's not my cousin, but yes, we do have the same surname, Menzi Ngobo. He is, of course, the Hollywood Bets representative. He is the senior football sponsorship coordinator. Please give him a round of applause so he can give us more money. Menzi's asking me if he must stand or sit. He's the man with the money. He can do whatever he wants. You can dance also if you want.
Well, greetings to everybody, and thank you for making time to come to this press briefing. This is a very important event for us as a sponsor, and we would like to make and drum up as much noise about this league as we possibly can. So let me shoot straight to the formalities. So greetings to the SAFA President, Dr. Danny Jordan, in his absence, the Vice President, the Honorable Linda Zwane, the CEO of the Federation, Ms. Lydia Monyabao, Errol Madlala, the Commercial and Marketing Manager, Mr. Moremi Klip, the Competitions Manager, our favorite person in the building, the Technical Director, Mr. Walter Steenbach, the Head of Women's Football, Ms. Romani Pinnock, also in her absence, the Head Coach of the Trailblazing Defending African Champions, Banyana Banyana, Ms. Desiree Ellis, the media in attendance, the current Hollywood Bets Super League champions, Mamelodi Sundowns, all the club representatives here today, and of course our most important stakeholder, the players that make the Hollywood Bets Super League one of the best women's football leagues in Africa. And I think my part is simple. My part is to introduce the new season and to let everybody know, including the entire South African public, why it's important for us as Hollywood Bets to continue supporting the initiative that SAFA is doing to grow and maximize women's football in this country. As we embark on the 2024 season of the Hollywood Bets Super League, we are thrilled to reaffirm our unwavering commitment to women's football. We are dedicated to providing a platform that empowers female athletes to shine on a national stage. Through the Hollywood Bet Super League, we aim to foster growth, inspire greatness, and celebrate the resilience and the skill of these incredible athletes. We look forward to a thrilling season that comes ahead and to witnessing the impact of the league in shaping the future of women's football in South Africa. Some of the key points that I want to come out today is that Hollywood Bets is committed to continuing incentivizing players. How do we continue to do that? We will continue with our Player of the Tournament or Player of the Match awards, which will continue incentivizing the best players in every match to encourage excellence and top performance and top achievers, to make Desiree's job a bit easier when she's choosing her final national team squad. We also want to continue with our broadcast partners through our live streams on our social media platforms, which we share with the association. And in association with our other partner, SABC, on SABC Sport, on the SABC Sport app, SABC Sports Plus app, and on other avenues, we also want to continue showcasing the best of women's football in this country. We recently partnered with a football magazine show on SABC called Game On, where we want to continue to showcase the best that South African women's football has in store. I think it's been a long time that women's football in this country hasn't had a dedicated magazine show. And through Hollywood Bet's sponsorship of Game On, we've been able to have a dedicated segment to all Hollywood Bet Super League endeavors. And this is a platform we want to continue to use. We want to grow on our digital platforms, on X, Facebook, Twitter, and all the other avenues that we can reach through this platform. Activities that we have planned for this season. We also plan to continue with the tradition of the Super League, which are the Super Sundays. Together with the association, we want to identify the top fixtures or the top games, potentially ones that can become double headers, to organize Super Sundays and create almost like a call to action and events around women's football, so that they are not just about the match, but it's also about the event and the entertainment around football. Recent research studies that I've been a part of have shown that the growth of sport and the next chapter of sports, not just in the women's game, is through taking football as a segment of entertainment and by plugging in other elements that can grow the game by incentivizing people to come to the stadium. So over and above some of the things that we'll have, like halftime competitions that can incentivize people that come to the stadium, we also want to add elements like entertainment that can bring people there, so that these games can become family affairs where we can start growing the numbers and the bums on seats at these matches. We're also very proud as Hollywood Bets to have a very strong CSI initiative, and we want to grow this partnership with the association through the Super League by identifying communities which these teams come from. Some of the teams come from underprivileged and less resourced regions of this country, and through this partnership we want not only to grow the development of the game, but we want to bring focus to communities that need help in upliftment in different areas of society. So we want football to be the vehicle that we will use to drive those agendas. Some of the top things that I'm sure some of you will ask during this presser is, what are the plans, what plans does the sponsor have in terms of creating a better content and social media strategy? Now, the simple answer to that is, we not only want to collaborate with the association in trying to grow our social media presence, but we also want to encourage and capacitate club management, marketing officers, PRO, social media managers to start developing interactive social media pages for clubs, so that journalists, the public, and all the people that interact with the product can be able, with the click of a button, to access all relevant and up-to-date information about the league, the players, the teams, and the stats from the players, from the league, and from the sponsor site directly. So how we plan to do that? We want to centralize data and engagement through this new content and social media development plan. We want to centralize participation and make it a one-stop shop where journalists and everyone can be able to access information about the Super League and not have to scour the internet and look at different places to find information. We want people to live the game on and off the field, in and outside the stadium. And I cannot forget that one of the most important things about our partnership with the association is that we can leverage off our partnership with La Liga, Brentford, where we can create experiences and opportunities to incentivize the best players at the end of every season by giving them an opportunity to travel abroad, to train with teams like we did with the previous award winners, where we gave them a trip to Villarreal. And I have to acknowledge in our presence Natalie Bollo, the Marketing and Commercial Manager of La Liga South Africa, who honored the invitation. Thank you so much for joining us. She's going to be an important partner in our growth and in our endeavor to try and collaborate in growing women's football in all sectors of our society. I cannot end my first segment without mentioning that it's important to note that Hollywood Bets is proud and is a proudly South African business with roots deeply entrenched in our community. The work that we do, not only for sports, not only for football, is work that comes from the roots of the community. We as a brand, as a company, cannot exist without the community. So everything we do, we always have the community in mind, and we want to take the game and the brand back to the people. That's where it belongs. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much to Menzi Ngobo, Senior Football Sponsorship Coordinator out at Hollywood Bets. Yes, you may continue to sit there, sir. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, I did mention 2023 was an insane season in the Hollywood Bets Super League. We saw some teams in the early stages of the season, the likes of JVW, occupying the top position on the log, and that's when we knew that we were really in for a treat in terms of what would happen. But unfortunately, for some teams, not quite able to get off the blocks, which is why they now find themselves playing in the SAFA League. That is, of course, Coast City Wizards, the team from Mpumalanga, as well as the team from Venda in my Indies that have officially been relegated. But it's an opportunity for two teams to rise to the top and once again, as Menzi said, make Coach Desiree Ellis's job a little bit harder, but simpler as well at the same time. Let's remind you of what 2023 looked like in the Hollywood Bets Super League.
They might have scored more goals than us, but I think we are the best team in terms of defense.
You know it's SABC Sport commentary when you hear Gloria Brown as well as Tulisile Mia. It's not a game until you hear Tulisile say, Yabagu Zineti. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome on stage now. We're just going to have a little bit of a panel discussion just to discuss in terms of the prospects for the upcoming season of the Hollywood Bets Super League and what some of the key learning points have been from what we've seen in the previous year. I'll start with Coach Desiree Ellis, if you'll please join me on stage. Banyana head coach, a lady that just managed to get South Africa through to the next round of the 2024 Paris Olympic qualifiers against Tanzania. Please give Coach a round of applause. I'll also ask the technical director of SAFA to please join me on stage, Obabu Walter Steenbok. And last but not least, Errol Madlala, please join us on stage, Errol. You can have my seat because I don't want us to be too squished. Yeah, don't sit on top of each other, please. We don't want to make headlines for the wrong reasons. All right, and we'll have this roaming mic over here. And perhaps, Menzi, I can start with you and then we'll just move it across. Perhaps let's start with Coach Des first. Because firstly, Coach, congratulations. We saw the wonderful work that Banyana team did against Tanzania. What would you say has contributed to the way that the team is performing when you look at what's happened in the Hollywood Bets Super League? And I'll take it a step further and speak to the SAFA League as well, because we saw a young Asanda Khadebe getting to start in both encounters against Tanzania, and she plays for Sunflower out in the SAFA League.
I think when I look at each and every year, the league has improved, and that is great for us. We went to the Aisha Buhari Cup in 2021. We had 6 international players and 12 local-based players. So it says how the league is growing. I think the coaches are putting in a lot of work. You look at this loss, a fixture now. A lot of clubs are in pre-season, but the work that the coaches have put in have really helped us. Some 3 weeks, some 4 weeks, some 5 or 6. And it shows that the clubs are serious. The league was very close last year. It ended up in the end not being so close, but it was very close last year. And when I look across, a lot of clubs have made a lot of signings, so I'm looking forward to a very exciting season, but also a season of good football. It's always important for the teams to keep up the intensity, to play quicker, because international level, it asks for those things, to be technically and tactically better. And over the years, the league has gotten better, and I'm hoping that it's going to even get better this year, much more than what it has in previous years. And that has contributed to players coming in and doing so well in the national team. So the league has been good for us, but it can even be better.
And Coach, are you finding that it's perhaps easier for you now with the teams that you're selecting from and the players you've got coming to the national team? I know at some points there was some frustrations about, from a national team coach perspective, not just you, Bafana as well, just saying there are certain things that you shouldn't be teaching at national team level, that you expect the players to come into the team and already know how to do.
Things have gotten better. Players have got themselves personal trainers. They've worked in the off-season. They've worked on things we've asked them to work on, and we saw videos of those with it's technically getting better. So players are improving, clubs are improving, coaches are getting better, and the league can only get better from there. Clubs have mandates. We cannot tell them how to run the clubs. Clubs have mandates because as a club coach, you want to win the league. You want to get players into the national team. And that commitment and that drive helps us because the players come in, like I said now, it was amazing that we didn't start from zero because we were playing a Tanzanian team that are 10 games into their league. We were playing against a team that had international players that were also playing regular football. So the work that the coaches put in pre-season, it has been incredible, I must say, and a big thank you to the coaches for that because, as I said, in 2022, we were in a similar position when we went to play Algeria. 2 weeks into pre-season, we had to take the game against Zambia. Got beaten, but we needed it. So the coaches play a huge role out there, and a big thank you to them. I'm in regular contact with the coaches, so we cannot do without each other because they help us be where we are. We cannot do without each other.
Absolutely. Coach, I'll ask you to hand over the mic to Menzi. Menzi, perhaps just reiterate for us the importance of relaunching and bringing everyone here today to just relaunch the Hollywood Bet Super League and almost just set the tone of what, when this relationship was started between SAFA and Hollywood Bets, what your purpose was, what the vision was, and how you'd say you fared in terms of where you want to be versus where you are now.
So I'll take a slice out of the TD's comprehensive studies on the technical development of the South African player. One of the key elements there is the commercialization of the game. Without the commercial incentives, the commercial drive, the commercial commitment, development cannot take place because these resources need to be financed. Players need to be incentivized. Teams need to be incentivized. Transportation needs to be paid for. Accommodation needs to be paid for. Camps need to be paid for. Dietitian, nutritionists, physical trainers, personal trainers. All of this as part of the value chain is important for us as a sponsor to be able to support the association's endeavor to try and grow the quality of the game. And probably in follow-up questions, you would ask, where's the next step for the Hollywood Bet Super League? In my initial thoughts, the next step for the Hollywood Bet Super League is for us to get rid of the semi-professional tag. We need to start talking about the professional league of women's football. By professionalizing, I mean we need to be able to have 24-hour professionals. We don't want to have women's football in the next 4 to 5 years still having people holding down part-time jobs and training in the evening. We want to find ourselves in a situation where if a Mexican team or a United States team wants to sign a player from the Hollywood Bet Super League, it needs to be worthwhile because the league commercially can afford to keep the player. But it's not just about officially or commercially affording to keep the player. The quality and the standard of the game is at a high level. And just to add on to that, the quality can only improve if the value chain improves. Now, the value chain includes what? Administration, staff, coaches, facilities, the trainers themselves. If you still have a SAFA level D or a SAFA level C and you want to coach at the highest level, there may be some elements of the coaching aspect and the technical aspect that you might not be able to impart on the players. And that will make the life of the entire value chain more difficult to start now producing players of a higher quality. So from a commercial perspective, we need to make sure that we're not just financing the running of the club, but we are financing the development of the clubs.
Indeed, thank you so much. TD, I'll come to you now and I'll touch a little bit on what Menzi's saying, but when we look at the holistic development of the game, one cannot shy away from the fact that there are teams that have what some would say an added advantage of having that financial backup, where not all the players have to have a 9-to-5 job. When we look at the development of the game from a women's football perspective, where would you say we are and how do we get to where we need to be? We know when it comes to men's football, we've heard the TD speaking about, we're going to put certain things in place. You cannot coach a team in this league, in the PSL, if you don't have this type of qualification and so on and so forth. Are we seeing similar movement and direction when it comes to the women's game?
Yeah, thanks. I think first we need to really commend the clubs, those who have really used the family money and their monies, to plow back into the game. It has not been easy. But really coming to your question, the association from the technical division will continue to be very aggressive, but of course aligning to the program and the mandate, but continuously be deliberate, to help the development of the game. Thanks in January already, Menzi, you guys already had a women C license, to be able to make sure that we continue to capacitate the women coaches. If you check the calendar that we have also circulated around July, August this year, we'll have another B license specifically for women coaches. And the association over a period of 30 years, SAFA continues to be number one in terms of training of coaches. We have already trained about 28,000 coaches, better than Morocco, better than anybody else. So the development of the game really sits on the backdrop of what Hollywood Bets is doing, because in terms of mass participation, in terms of high performance program. They're already at the forefront of that with this league. If you check the numbers and what they've been able to do. So ours is to continue to have dual programs and also stakeholder alignment programs that really facilitate the development of the women's game. We have a women's strategy that we should be able to launch very, very soon. If you check also, we also used a program of under 15 girls inter-LFA league, not only to activate the game, but also to try to have the gains from what Banyana has done last year at the World Cup by reaching the knockout stage. So these are some of the things that we'll continue to do and will be mindful of as we move on.
Thank you so much, Tidi. Errol, let's bring you into the discussion. We speak about the development and the growth and the expansion. What are some of those plans when it looks to ensuring that the Hollywood Bet Super League brand is able to reach new markets and be accessible to those it previously wasn't accessible to? We know there's the likes of SABC Sport that cover the Women's League every single Sunday. But what else can we look forward to come the new season?
Okay, thank you for Siwe. I would like to welcome everyone to SAFA House this morning, and thank you for coming through here.
And your patience.
Yes, thank you. Apologies for being late. I think I also want to acknowledge Menzi from Hollywood, Hollywood Bets, let me say it in full, because I think what we have privilege of as SAFA is to have sponsors that are committed. There are sponsors that will just give you the money and ask for tickets and then put their logos in there. But actually, there's different programs that you can see that not only that Hollywood Bets is supporting us financially, but also there's programs that support the running of our leagues and also the holistic development of football and communities around the country. And I think it's for us, we want to endeavor to ensure that we can ensure that they can see their value back. Because I think our role is to be able to ensure the game grows, we have the necessary success, so that the success is attributed to both SAFA as well as all of our partners. To answer your question, is that I think women's football has a unique opportunity that having started late, there is opportunity to overtake some of the existing properties because it's highlighted in a digital era. And I think that gives an opportunity. And I think it's going to be quite important for us. Part of the stuff that we discussed with the clubs in the workshops was ability to utilize their assets in social media, as well as our social media, as well as our partners, to ensure that they create ability for awareness, so that people in their geographies know that those clubs exist and they actually are looking for fans. Because importantly, the value that we can give to sponsors and all of our partners, including our broadcasters, is ability to start bringing fans into the games, start bringing fans into the ecosystem, start bringing fans into the value chain, because it's quite an important stakeholder. The key stakeholder for us in the commercial and marketing world is to bring the fans who are passionate about football to all of our partners so that they can also thrive in their business. So in a specific answer to your question around the distribution of our content, I think the public broadcaster is an important stakeholder of ours. Not only just from a monetary perspective, but also their resources and ability to be in different parts of the country. If you consider all the number of radio stations as well as their reach on their app, most people take that for granted as a new media. But if you see the numbers on the sabcsports.com as well as the SABC Plus, you'll be amazed it's already bigger than some of the established platforms. I think we are not taking that for granted, and we know that it's quite an important tool to grow our game. They also have their limitations. That I think we also, as SAFA, with our partner, are also streaming some of the games. What we're also trying to do in our negotiations with broadcasters to ensure that not only our league can live in South Africa, can also permeate into other parts of the world, so that we can create awareness. And I'm sure most of you guys know Rachel Kundananji. She's the highest transferred female footballer in the world currently. She's from our region in Zambia. So these are the stories that we want to profile. These are the stories that we want to create awareness of. We also are confident that if we use the platforms that exist from the TDS program of the under 13 and the 15 girls, all the way to Banyana Banyana, we can tell great stories about South African girls that use football as a powerful tool for change. And I think it's important for us to tell not only just the football story, but also the behind-the-scenes story. Congratulations, coach. And now there's just 4.
Now there's just 4. Menzi, let me come to you. Let's speak about some of the things that incentivize players to do well in the Hollywood Bets Super League. And I want to particularly look at the collaboration and partnership that Hollywood Bets has with Brentford. How do you think this incentivizes the players, in fact, to do well in each and every single season, and what that then adds to them, not only as football players, but as people in general when they do get that opportunity?
Thank you for that. In fact, I'm going to mention Brentford and La Liga in the same sentence because my partner's here. So we need to speak truth to power. When your partners honor your invitation, you must make them feel welcome. So let me just start with the Brentford one. So we are obviously the premium sponsor of Brentford FC. And through that partnership, they have extended an opportunity for us to give some of the best players in the Hollywood Bets Super League an experience. And maybe let me just unpack what we mean by an experience. Someone might think an experience is a trial. Someone might think an experience is a trip on an airplane, or someone might think an experience is getting a ticket to a Premier League match. For us, an experience is about absorbing the entire circumference of the environment that encompasses a professional player. Some of these environments that we take for granted can be intimidating to the growth of a young athlete, like being in a packed stadium, like being in a tunnel, like being in a dressing room with all the facilities, like going into a training center that has a canteen, a physio room, a doctor's room, and offices. That's trying to expose them to the next level of professional football by just saying to them, hey, have this experience, we'll take the pressure away, but we'll give you the full experience. And we're not shortchanging them with that experience because we give them the full Monty. By full Monty, I mean we take them to the training venues, they train with the teams, they spend time with the senior teams, they spend time with the male counterparts, and they actually get to go to the stadiums and attend press conferences and interviews in those regions as well. And now recently with La Liga, we gave them a full experience with the Villarreal ladies. And what they got there is not just an experience, but they also got to train and have sessions with some of the first team coaches and have a friendly match with the Villarreal B-side while they were staying there. And they had an opportunity to tour the city, but they also had an opportunity to understand how Spanish media works, how to handle a Spanish media conference, how to handle yourself in an international press conference. What are the expectations? What do you wear? What does it mean to be commercially viable as a brand? Social media. How does your social media need to be structured as an individual athlete? Because there is the group brand and then there's the personal brand. Now the one cannot exist without the other. So through these partnerships with Natalie and La Liga, what we are trying to do is, before we can go to the phase where we say, TD, we are sending Boitumelo Rabale to have a trial at a team. We want Boitumelo Rabale to be exposed to that atmosphere before she gets there, so that when she's called, it's not for a trial, but it's for a signature. And that's the partnership that we're trying to foster with La Liga. And through more of the initiatives that we're going to be doing, we're not going to wait for the end of the season to just take them on a trip. We're going to be traveling across the length and breadth of the country with our partners to try and start spreading this message and showing them that La Liga is alive and well in South Africa. Brentford is alive and well in South Africa, and that's through a South African-based business like Hollywood Bets.
Thank you. TD, I'm going to come to you again before I go back to Coach Des just to wrap up. Menzi speaks about we want to get to a point where when a player goes abroad, it's not to trial, it's to sign. And how do we get there, though? Because with many of our male counterparts who are playing football, I mean, I'll make a scenario now. When recently Bafana Bafana came back into the country and there was all this talk about Tebogo Mokoena's going to Al Ahly to trial, everyone just laughed it off. It's a joke. Why would Tebogo Mokoena trial anyway? He's Tebogo. You just call him to come negotiate and sign if you want him. When are we going to get there in terms of the women's game? And what do we need to do now to get there in terms of the women's game? Because what we are still seeing is Richmond United will still say, oh, we need to send Ntabiseng Magia to Mamelodi Sundowns to trial versus let's bring her over to sign. And this is still just in the local sphere.
I think we're not really giving ourselves a pat on the back in terms of women's football, you know. But the success that we have had with our players, we have seen it now. I mean, they now play in the best leagues. You know, they move from the US, they go to Mexico. They move from South Korea, you know, they go to Mexico. You know, Linda also just moved also now. So there's been a positive trajectory of our players because of the quality of what we have. But I think what is also important, and this comes to SAFA and comes to Coach Des, and Coach Des has been the flag bearer of this program and this process, is to continuously do well on the field in Africa and also in the world, you know, to showcase the talent that we have. Of course, Hollywood Bets and other programs that we have will continuously be able to help us to get there, to make sure that the quality of the players that we have in South Africa are continuously moving, you know. And if you compare in the men's football and in women's football, you see that we have more of our women players really moving into those territories. So we need to really to say there's a lot of work that needs to be done, you know, but already there's a platform. I just wanted also to touch on something which is very, very key, is that from the South African Football Association, especially from the technical division, for the Hollywood Bets this season, one, we want to do a technical study group where we will have selected matches where we analyze the team from home and also away in the first round and also in the second round. And then maybe end of the season, through our partners who's bought Hollywood Bets, have a seminar and begin to discuss those findings, those trends. And also secondly, what we also want to do is we want to have a performance analysis workshop, because performance analysis is very, very key now in the development of the game, you know, because how teams analyze and how they use data, you know. We have seen with Bafana at the AFCON, and also the success of the Coach Desri. And also, Coach Desri is just waiting for the time, Menzi, to share the experience with the clubs of what really happened at the World Cup, you know, in terms of tactical trends. Because often we have tournaments where we go and participate, you know. We're lucky yesterday we had a technical committee meeting where you shared a lot of things, but we have not really shared this with the people who matters most and who are the clubs. So we need to find a space within her program and the club's program where we can come back and share what are the trends, what are the challenges that she has with the girls at that level, and how to improve and to go forward.
Thank you, TD. You can hold the mic still. Just a follow-on question. Wrapping up 2023, from a TD point of view, what were some of the challenges that were brought forward by some of the teams which they felt were not adequately addressed? And if you had any, I don't know. And how then are we going to fix that for the 2024 season?
I think key for us, and you have seen, and then some few clubs were not really happy by us saying we need to put in a CAF club licensing measure for the goalkeepers. You know, one of the things that came out there, Coach Des, was that if you are going to have Banyana, we need that the goalkeepers must come through. You know, that was very, very important. And also, the key thing was also the schedule. You know, the schedule needs to be synchronized such that it gives the clubs enough time to compete fairly, but also give the national team, you know, ample space to be able to prepare. You'll remember what happened last season when we have the COSAFA tournament. You know, that was what was happening. And then also, traveling is a bit of a challenge. You know, we need to really Menzi, I know is here, we need to fix the issue of the traveling, you know, because the Hollywood Bets Super League, if you check, you're going to have an increase of university teams coming into that platform. And when they do that, they have the resources, both from human resource and financial resources. And then it makes the league not to be really balanced. So we really need to make sure that the traveling of teams is a little bit better, and also the fixture change. You know, the fixtures must be set so that teams know how to prepare and how to travel.
The traveling was a challenge. Some teams missing some games and having to forfeit those points. Coach, let me come to you now for one last time. I'm sure you've seen some of the signings that have been made so far for this upcoming season. Out of what you've seen so far, what do you make of the movements of some of those players, and which movement stands out the most for you? And I think particularly there's probably a player that makes it into your team every now and again that we'll also touch on in terms of her moving to a new club.
Look, players always look at getting better. Players always look at improving. If they're not improving at a certain club, they look to go where they think they can improve, and that is good on the player because, you want to be better all the time. I'm not going to touch base on what is the best signings, but I think the clubs are really getting up for the season. They looked at last season and see how they can improve their teams, how they can get better. And many clubs have signed many players, but I don't see them releasing any. But anyway, they've signed a lot of players, and I hope they have enough time to get that going and to get it all together. It might be rusty or in the first couple of weeks of the season, but hopefully they've had a couple of friendlies to be able to work on that, because with the signings, I see a very interesting season. I see a very exciting season. I see a very close season once again, but who's going to be close, I'm not sure, because the first couple of weeks, there are a lot of tough matches for most of the top teams playing against each other, so that will also separate the best from the other ones coming up. But I look forward to
I thought you were going to say the men from the boys. I was going to say the girls from the women.
A very exciting season, but also I think a lot of teams are fitter. A lot of teams have started early, which gives them good preparation. There's also players coming back from injury, which I'm very keen to have a look at as well. Because, when players injured, you give them the opportunity to recover and then have a look at them again. But I foresee a very exciting season. Thank you to Hollywood Bets. You're right when you talk about professionalizing the game. I think when you came back from the World Cup, I spoke about that. And we don't want to speak in 2027 again about that, because if we're going to close that gap to the rest of the world, it's got to happen sooner rather than later. Because in effect, it's an amateur team playing against professional teams. And can you imagine if a player doesn't have to go to work and just does that for a living, what more they can do? Already, players are getting personal trainers, already they're going to sports science institutes around the country, called different names, in getting better. So the players are getting better, the league's going to get better, but we're waiting for that one step. And hopefully it will happen sooner rather than later, because that is the next step for women's football. The TD spoke about Mexico. People were saying, why is Jermaine going to Mexico? Why is Tembi going to Mexico? They just beat the USA 2-0. It shows how the league is growing. And our players are looking to go to better clubs all the time. And sometimes you go to a club that is played in the lower leagues, and that is your stepping stone. But our players have got to play in the best clubs in the world, in the best leagues in the world, because that transfers back to our team. You could see that Jermaine and them were on fire in Mexico, and it was very evident in the game against Tanzania.
Speaking about those Olympic qualifiers, you mentioned being interested in seeing some of the players coming back from injury. So are we likely to see changes to your 23 selection for those Nigeria away and home games?
Let me tell you, it's already difficult to select. It's becoming more and more difficult because players are beginning to raise their hands, and there will always be changes in the national team because players are raising their hands. So we cannot say that we have the same squad, but there will always be changes, and it's up to the players. Always say I select on what I see, and if the players raise their hands, we give them an opportunity. And that is exactly what happens. Look at Lesego. I've known Lesego since she played at Wits in the SAFA League, and that was many years ago. So I don't necessarily forget about the player, but I monitor the player, and when the time is right, the player gets the opportunity. I remember the Kisani twins, when they were playing in the SAFA League, people kept saying, when. When the time is right, we will bring them in. People talk about Faith. When the time is right, she'll get a game time. Unfortunately, she's got an injury and will be out for a while, but you cannot just call a player in and expect the player to play. I mean, many people are not at training to see what we see. And sometimes a player has a bad game, but the player is flying in training. So when the time is right, players will be selected that will add value to the national team.
Lastly, Coach, when the time is right, the player will be selected. Talk about players giving themselves a better chance. We know Atalia Smith was at Mamelodi Sundowns. She made the decision to move to her former club in the University of Pretoria, and now she's back in your national team. Just being able to decipher and see that perhaps I'm not getting as much game time and as much opportunity as Sundowns as I would at a Tuks?
Look, I always tell players, you've got to play. I cannot select a player who's not playing. I cannot select a player who's unattached. Because even though you're training on your own, you're not playing. So if a player is not playing regularly, my hands are tied. I've got to select players who are playing regularly, who can add value to the national team. But if you're sitting on the bench, it makes it very difficult. And that's the message to all the players out there. You must play. If you don't play and you're currently part of the national team and you don't play, it makes it more difficult for me to select you because the other players are all playing. So that is just the message to everyone out there. Make sure that you play and make sure that you raise your hand. And if we see the time is right, you will get a call up to the national team. You look at Asanda, plays in the SAFA League. She's gone to Prime 3 times a week because she knows she's got to up a game. She trains with men twice a week. She knows she's got to up a game. I actually got a WhatsApp from my nephew, asked me, who's that player? I said, she played against Brazil. He said, oh, but look how she's improved. So that is what players are starting to do to make sure that they get that spot in the national team.
And all thanks to the Hollywood Bets Super League. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much to our panel members. We'll play a video for you now just to look back at what Brantford looked like for the winners out at the Hollywood Bets Super League Awards.
It's having a whole it's an express because this is a great opportunity. We're gonna gain a lot of experience.
To be honest, it makes me feel excited and wonderful about it. Also, for the people from Hollywood Bets, I want to thank them for giving me this opportunity.
I'm very excited about the experience, you see. It's a great opportunity for us to explore and learn new things from the other country because basically what we have this side is not upgraded than what they have. So it's a great opportunity for us.
This is a great opportunity for us, for our brand to be exposed on an international scale. But more than that, it's just keeping with the endeavor of Hollywood Bets to grow football in all ranks in South Africa. Most importantly, to grow the Women's Day. So what we are currently doing now is taking some of our best players to see whether their level matches up with the best players in Europe. These are the ladies going to Spain.
Some of my expectations have been met because as I was watching Spanish team, national team, I saw that those players are very quick and physical. So when I get here, I got to experience that they are physical and they are very quick, they're very technical good.
Oh, I thought it's going to be fun and we're going to have a great time and also having a training session with the team. And my expectations, as I was expecting it to be, it just went, it went well. We enjoyed our training sessions. And I think the team is wonderful.
For my department, it was nice, but on the first day, it was a bit difficult for me, you know. So, but second training, third training, it got better, and I enjoyed every moment with it. So they were also trying to explain, give me advices how to work, how to do things, you know, because it differs from where I come from. So with every moment shared, it was spectacular. So I got to learn a lot of things.
I expect that a higher tempo, and the players, they play very well and they play like 1-2s. Like in South Africa, we were more dribbler. So here they play more forward play. So I was expecting that because in the World Cup I watch Spain national team play. So the way they play, the way they do things in the field of play. So I was expecting that. So I saw that even here when I train with the team, they more play forward play.
All right, so that was actually out at Villarreal. That's where the girls got an opportunity to go. I love that they play 1-2 in South Africa. More dribbler. That's what I am as well. If I were a football player, I'd definitely be more dribbler. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end now of this formal session here. I will allow the floor if anyone in the floor has any questions to ask of any of our panel members. So I can hand you a mic. I know members of the media prefer their one-on-ones, because then we all feel special. No questions from the floor. All right, so thank you so much to Men's Ngcobo Coach Desiree Ellis, TD Walter Steenbok, as well as Errol Madlala. Errol will ask you to please just close off this formal proceedings for us. And of course, members of the media, you will have an opportunity to then ask questions of whoever you'd like to speak to here in the room. Thank you so much for coming through. Thank you to all the team representatives that are here today. We wish you all the best for the upcoming season, and may the best team win.
Thank you very much, Vusiwe, for hosting our program. But we're quite excited to present what we claim to be the best women's Premier League in the continent. And we want to ensure that not only it lives on the field, we want to work with our partners as well as our clubs, as well as you as the member of the media, to ensure that the off-the-field stories that we can tell about how great our players are, how great the opportunities it presents, but also to start creating those familiar environments for fans to start coming. Because if we want to professionalize sooner, we better ensure that one, there's greater awareness, there's greater stories in the media, and there's greater experience for fans to come to watch the games and actually see great football. Thank you very much for taking your time this morning. And enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
The league does officially start tomorrow on the 2nd of March, and the live encounter you can catch on SABC Sports, and on SABC 1 on Sunday will be Mamelodi Sundowns taking on Royal AM. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're not rushing off for an interview or anything, please do stay and join us for lunch, which will be served. You members of the media, you know the usual spot.